There is a man in Chinese history who has been called the greatest villain and the greatest hero, depending on who you ask. His name was Cao Cao. He lived 1800 years ago, and the argument about who he really was has never stopped. He was born in 155 AD, the son of a court eunuch's adopted child, not noble birth. In a society that valued aristocratic lineage above everything, Cao Cao started from an awkward position. But from the beginning, he showed unusual talent. As a young official, he boldly executed a powerful eunuch's uncle who had been breaking the law. Courage or recklessness, everyone saw something different. When the Han dynasty began to crumble, torn apart by rebellion and warlordism, Cao Cao emerged as the most capable military commander of the age. He won battles through brilliant strategy, personal courage, and an ability to attract and keep talented people. He famously issued decrees saying, "I need capable men. I don't care if they are moral. Send them to me." What surprises people who look closely at Cao Cao is that he was also a great poet. His poems survive, raw, direct, personal in a way that classical Chinese poetry rarely was. He wrote about ambition and mortality, about the shortness of life and the weight of power. A man who could order a massacre could also write, "Life is short as the morning dew. Days of sorrow are already too many." In 208, Cao Cao commanded the largest fleet in Chinese history, thousands of ships moving down the Yangtze toward the south. His enemies, the warlords Liu Bei and Sun Quan, joined forces against him. The Battle of Red Cliffs became one of the most famous battles in Chinese history, not because of who won, but because of who lost. Cao Cao's fleet was destroyed by fire. He escaped with his life and little else. The defeat at Red Cliffs did not break him. He returned north, consolidated his power, and spent the rest of his life governing the territories he controlled. He reformed the land system to help farmers. He ended certain cruel punishments. He reduced taxes in some regions. His northern territories became relatively stable and prosperous during the most chaotic period China had seen in centuries. But Cao Cao could also be ruthless beyond what most rulers would permit themselves. He executed Kong Rong, one of the great scholars of the age, on charges that were largely fabricated. He massacred whole populations when he felt a lesson needed to be taught. He operated from a principle that has haunted his reputation ever since. "I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me." That line, "I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me," has defined how most Chinese people see Cao Cao for nearly 2,000 years. It appears in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the 14th century novel that shaped Chinese historical memory. In that novel, Cao Cao is the great villain, cunning, ruthless, treacherous. Heroes are defined by their opposition to him. But the novel is not history. Modern historians look at Cao Cao differently. He created institutions. He promoted talent based on ability rather than birth, revolutionary in his time. He wrote laws. He built schools. In the chaos of the late Han, when bandits roamed the countryside and millions starved, Cao Cao created order across the largest part of China. Whether you call him villain or savior may depend on where you lived. His personal life was equally complicated. He had many wives and concubines, a sign of power in his era. He loved his sons, perhaps too much, as the rivalry between them became the central crisis of his final years. He chose his son Cao Pi to succeed him, the politician over the poet. Whether this was wisdom, or error is still debated. The poet Cao Cao never forgave his father for it. He held all the power of an emperor, but never took the title. He controlled the Han Emperor, a puppet on the throne, but chose not to replace him. Some say this showed restraint. Others say he simply did not want to bear the responsibility of the title. His son Cao Pi took that final step after his death. Cao Cao himself died in 220 at age 65 as prime minister and king of Wei, not emperor. His last wishes, recorded by his son, were modest for a man of his power. Bury me simply. Do not waste resources on my funeral. Distribute my clothes to my wives and concubines. Keep the silk weavers working. He spent his life accumulating power and ended asking for simplicity. Whether that was genuine humility or the calculation of a man managing his legacy, we cannot know. The story of Cao Cao is inseparable from his sons. Cao Pi, who became emperor and built the Wei dynasty. Cao Ji, the great poet whom he loved and destroyed. Both owed everything to their father. Both were shaped by him in ways they could never escape. He created a dynasty and a tragedy in the same act. The romance of the three kingdoms made him the villain of Chinese history for nearly 2,000 years. Generations of Chinese children grew up hating Cao Cao, rooting for Liu Bei, grieving for Guan Yu. The power of a story to shape how we see a person across centuries is one of the most extraordinary things about human culture. A novel written 1,000 years after his death became the primary lens through which he was seen. What do we make of Cao Cao? A man who held all power and did not quite take the final step. A man who ordered massacres and wrote beautiful poetry. A man who promoted talent and executed innocent scholars. A man who built institutions and destroyed individuals. He was all of these things, which when you emphasize says something about what you believe power is for. His capital at Yi has been excavated. His tomb was found in 2009 after centuries of mystery. The bones of a man aged about 60 were found there, consistent with what we know. He had asked to be buried simply. He was, whatever else he was, he kept that last promise to himself. I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me. But Cao Cao. Wei, China. 155 to 220.